Ever wish your daily routine could be, I don't know, like a source of deep inner peace?
That's a great goal.
Right,
Right.
totally. And maybe that's closer than we think. Today we're diving into some pretty fascinating meditation techniques, ones that might surprise you, actually.
Yeah, we're going to be looking at the Rajneesh tradition.
Which, for anyone who doesn't know, is...
Well, we're talking about diverse ways people have found to tap into inner stillness, even through stuff you might not think of as meditative, you know?
Right. And our guide for this exploration.
The Orange Book.
Which is...
a compilation of techniques from Osho.
along with his insights on, like, the whole transformative power of meditation.
Exactly. But just to be clear, our mission here isn't about, converting you to any belief system or anything.
No, not at all.
Think of it more like a taste test, trying different flavors of stillness and expanded consciousness. You never know what your mind palate might find delicious.
I love that. Okay, before we get to the techniques themselves, maybe we should define what we're even talking about. A lot of people think meditation means sitting like a statue, forcing your mind to be blank. Possible.
That's the biggest misconception out there. Meditation's not about emptying your mind completely. It's more about becoming aware of the space around your thoughts. Picture, like a mirror covered in dust, right? Meditation's like gently wiping away the grime, revealing the clear surface beneath.
It's less about concentration, more about a relaxed kind of awareness.
Exactly. Returning to like a natural state of being present. How a child experiences the world with those fresh eyes.
I like that. And Osho seems to really emphasize finding a path to that state that you enjoy, which makes sense.
Yeah.
No one wants to force themselves to meditate, right? So what does the Orange Book say about finding that joy in the practice?
Well, it really stresses choosing techniques that resonate with you. Don't be afraid to experiment. Change things up as your needs evolve.
Right. Makes sense.
The whole point is finding what brings, a lightness, playfulness to it, even laughter,
Okay, that definitely sounds more appealing than the super serious, disciplined approach you usually hear about.
Yeah.
And speaking of approaches, the Orange Book includes some techniques that are, pretty far from your typical quiet meditation, right?
Oh, absolutely. You might be surprised to find things like dynamic meditation, mandala meditation, even something as simple as pillow beating.
Wait, hold on. Pillow beating as meditation, what's that about?
So these practices use movement, shaking, even shouting, like as a way to release pent-up emotions and energy.
Okay, interesting.
It's like, think of shaking up a snow globe, right? You got to stir things up before they can settle into clarity.
Oh, I love that analogy. So someone who's naturally drawn to movement can totally find a path to meditation that feels authentic for them.
That's exactly Osho's point. He argues that modern life, it lacks the natural outlets that used to help us release tension. Well, things like, physical labor, being out in nature, facing real danger.
Yeah, we don't really have those as much anymore.
Right, so we have to create that catharsis intentionally.
Makes sense. It's like we need to create our own mini storms to experience the calm after the storm.
Precisely. And then once we've, released some of that pent-up energy, that's where the techniques focused on stillness and awareness come in.
So from shaking things up to being still. Okay, so what are some of the techniques the Orange Book suggests for, like, cultivating that stillness?
Well, you have things like vipassana, zazen.
I've heard of those, but honestly, I don't know much about them.
So with vipassana, it's all about cultivating deep self-awareness, and equanimity. You're basically training yourself to observe your thoughts and sensations without getting, swept away by them.
And that helps you too.
It helps you navigate all those ups and downs of life with, more grace.
Oh, that sounds incredibly helpful in our fast-paced world. It's so easy to get overwhelmed. What about zazen? How is that different?
Zazen is, it's a cornerstone of Zen Buddhism. It focuses on simply sitting, being present in the moment.
Okay.
So, finding a comfortable posture, focusing on your breath, observing those thoughts and sensations as they come and go, but without judgment.
So less about analyzing your thoughts, more about just observing them.
Exactly. And it's really important to emphasize that, with these quieter methods, it's not about forcing the mind to be blank. That's just not possible.
Right, yeah.
It's about cultivating a gentle, non-judgmental observation of whatever comes up in your awareness. Thoughts, emotions, physical sensations, whatever.
It seems like there's a common thread running through all of these techniques, whether they're active or still. It's about, becoming an observer instead of getting caught in the whirlwind of our inner world.
Yeah, I think that's a great way to put it.
But what about those of us who, well, we struggle to sit still for very long? Does the Orange Book have any guidance for the fidgety types?
That's where Osho's idea of transforming everyday activities into meditative practices comes in.
Oh, interesting. Tell me more about that.
It's about bringing that same mindful attention to simple things like drinking tea, walking, even something as profound as communicating with nature.
Wait, communicating with nature as meditation. Now that's intriguing. What does that even look like? What does Osho suggest?
Well, he encourages us to, really reconnect with nature in a mindful way. So maybe you're standing barefoot on the earth, feeling its energy, or even talking to a tree, just allowing yourself to sense its presence, its wisdom. It's about tapping back into that childlike wonder.
I love that. I do have to ask about something that seems a bit controversial, though. The story about Osho smoking meditation. Is that real?
It is, and I know it can raise some eyebrows. But it's
Yeah.
really a powerful way to illustrate bringing awareness to even the most mundane tasks.
So it's not about endorsing smoking. It's more like using it as an example of how to be mindful with any activity.
Exactly. It's about slowing down, savoring each step, becoming fully present in that experience. So the act of smoking becomes this vehicle for cultivating deeper awareness, just like, drinking tea or walking.
That's such a fascinating perspective. It's like taking something we usually do on autopilot and turning it into an opportunity for mindfulness. And it really challenges the idea that meditation has to be this separate thing from daily life, right?
Absolutely. And that actually leads us to the practices that use sound and movement to transcend the limitations of thought.
Okay, we're moving beyond the mind now. What kind of techniques are we talking about here?
Things like Sufi dancing, Nataraj meditation, whirling meditation, kirtan, chanting mantras.
Okay, lots of movement.
Yeah, these practices are all about letting go of control, allowing your body and energy to move spontaneously.
So there's like an element of surrender involved. It's not just us directing the movements with our minds.
Exactly. It's about trusting the wisdom of the body, allowing yourself to be moved by something bigger than yourself.
It sounds incredibly liberating, like a way to break free from those, usual thought patterns we all get stuck in. And I'm guessing that sense of surrender plays an even bigger role in the last section of the Orange Book.
You're right. That section dives into sleep, dreams, the ultimate surrender to the present moment.
And there's this idea of dying before you die. Can you unpack that a little? What does that even mean?
So it's this powerful idea that encourages us to loosen the grip of the ego, and open to a greater reality.
Okay.
Osho says that by confronting our fear of death, we can actually become more fully alive in the present moment.
Wow.
It's about recognizing that nothing is permanent and surrendering to that flow of life.
That's a pretty profound thought. I'm definitely curious to hear more about the specific techniques that explore this idea of surrender. But I think we've covered a lot of ground already, and it's probably time for us to take a little break. We'll be right back to explore those practices that help us surrender to the present moment. Okay, so we're back, and I'm really curious to dig into those techniques from the Orange Book that focus on, surrender. You mentioned death meditation before the break, and that sounds pretty intense, to be honest.
It can be, yeah. The practice involves really vividly visualizing your own death.
Oh, wow.
So you're experiencing that process of leaving your body, confronting, the void.
That's heavy.
It is, but the idea is that it helps you break free from that fear of death and really embrace the unknown.
So it's not about, a morbid fascination with death. It's more about using that experience to kind of shift our perspective on life.
Exactly. Death meditation helps us recognize, the impermanence of everything. It's like a wake-up call to really embrace the present moment more fully.
Okay, that makes sense. What about prayer meditation? How does that fit into this idea of surrender?
So prayer meditation involves, opening yourself to a higher power, allowing that divine energy to flow through you. Imagine yourself as a hollow bamboo, ready to be filled and guided by something beyond your control.
So it's less about asking for specific things and more about cultivating a state of receptivity.
Yeah, exactly. It's about surrendering the ego, becoming this conduit for, a power greater than ourselves.
That's a really beautiful way to think about prayer. And then there's Gaurashankar meditation, which also aims to induce surrender, right?
Yes, Gaurashankar meditation. It uses a specific breathing pattern that creates this heightened state of awareness. Osho named it after Mount Everest, actually, to suggest, that it can take you to a similar peak of consciousness.
So it's like using the breath to access a different state of being.
Precisely. And when you reach that heightened state, it becomes much easier to, let go of control, surrender to the present moment.
I'm sensing a bit of a theme here. All of these techniques point toward, like, letting go, trusting something beyond our conscious control.
You're definitely picking up on something. Surrender is, it's really fundamental to Osho's whole approach to meditation.
It's fascinating because, so much of our lives is about striving, achieving, being in control. But these techniques suggest that maybe true liberation comes from letting go of that struggle.
That's a really profound insight. It's a shift from that mindset of, constant doing to a state of just being.
I want to shift gears a bit here, though. We've talked about a lot as techniques, but are there any that are especially helpful for dealing with, like, challenging emotions, anger, frustration,
right,
that kind of thing?
Yeah, absolutely. The Orange Book offers a lot of guidance on that. Osho really emphasizes catharsis.
Okay, meaning?
Expressing those emotions in a healthy way rather than suppressing them.
Right. Earlier, we talked about pillow beating as, like, a way to release anger. Are there other techniques that work in a similar way?
Oh, for sure. Osho suggests things like, running, jogging, even panting like a dog, just to move that energy through your body.
Panting like a dog. Okay, interesting.
It might sound a little unusual, but it can be surprisingly effective. It's about finding those physical outlets for that pent-up energy.
And once you've, like, released that energy, then what?
Osho suggests a technique called inner smile. It involves cultivating a sense of, joy and peace within.
So it's not about forcing a smile on your face. It's about cultivating a deeper sense of well-being.
Exactly. It's about shifting your internal state from, tension to relaxation, negativity to positivity.
Okay, I can see how that would be really helpful when you're dealing with those tough emotions.
It is. And it highlights the importance of, finding balance. Osho suggests that if you're feeling anger, contemplate compassion. If you're feeling discontent, focus on contentment.
So it's about, like, consciously directing your energy towards something more positive.
Precisely. And that brings us to another really important concept, the power of yes.
Yes.
Osho encourages us to, embrace life with this attitude of acceptance and trust.
So it's about shifting from a mindset of resistance to a state of, like, openness.
Yes. And it's not about suppressing no. It's about, acknowledging it without giving it power over you.
I'm seeing a pattern here, and I think it's about becoming aware of what's happening inside us and consciously choosing how we respond to it.
You're absolutely right. That's the essence of meditation, really. Becoming more conscious, more present, more empowered in our lives.
This has been so eye-opening. I feel like we've just scratched the surface of the Orange Book, though.
Oh, yeah. There's so much more to explore.
Before we wrap up, is there anything else you'd like to highlight?
Well, it's really crucial to remember that, these techniques are tools, not rigid rules. They're starting points for your own exploration.
So it's about finding what works for you, experimenting, adapting these techniques to your own needs.
Exactly. And remember, the goal isn't to achieve some, perfect meditative state. It's about integrating these practices into your daily life.
Making meditation like a way of being, not just something you do for a few minutes each day.
You got it.
We've covered so much ground in this exploration of, meditation techniques from the Rajneesh tradition.
Right.
But the Orange Book also explores another really fascinating dimension of meditation. Its relationship with love.
Oh, yes, definitely.
Now that you mention it, I do remember that connection being a big part of Osho's teachings. What does the Orange Book say about that link between meditation and love? So we've talked about meditation as, a path to inner peace, to presence, even to dealing with those tough emotions. But where does love fit in with all of this? What does the Orange Book have to say about, like, the connection between meditation and love?
Well, Osho suggests that real, true love, it can only really blossom when we've done that inner work.
Okay. Meaning?
When we've cultivated that sense of peace and, wholeness within ourselves.
So it's not about, like, finding someone to complete us.
No, not at all. It's about becoming whole on our own and then sharing that wholeness with someone else.
Makes sense.
He really emphasizes that meditation can help us move beyond neediness, possessiveness, all that stuff that, can sabotage relationships.
Right, yeah. I can see how clinging and attachment would get in the way of both love and meditation.
Exactly. When we're free from those attachments, we can experience love as a state of being, like an overflowing of joy and gratitude. It's not about this desperate need to possess or control the other person.
That's a really beautiful way to think about it. And I think the Orange Book even includes specific techniques for, like, couples to use
Yeah.
to deepen their connection through meditation, right?
It does. Osho suggests things like, gazing into each other's eyes, breathing together, surrendering to this shared energy. It's about cultivating a sense of unity, a shared presence.
Wow, that sounds incredibly intimate. I imagine those techniques could really help couples move past those ego-driven dynamics that create so much conflict in relationships.
Absolutely. By practicing those techniques, couples can tap into a deeper level of intimacy, connection. It's a love that's less about, me and you and more about we.
It's amazing how these meditation techniques, they can apply to so many areas of life, from personal growth to relationships. The Orange Book really offers a whole new perspective on, what meditation can be, how it can transform our lives.
It does. It really challenges us to, expand our definition of meditation. It's not just something you do on a cushion. It's a way of being in the world.
And I think that's a perfect takeaway for our listeners today. The Orange Book offers this glimpse into a world where meditation, it's not confined to that cushion. It's woven into every aspect of life. So if everything could become a meditation, what simple activity in your day would you choose to transform first?
Ooh, that's a good one. Pick one small thing. Brushing your teeth, walking the dog, watching the dishes, whatever. Bring to it that same mindful awareness we've been talking about today. I think you'll be amazed at what you discover.
I love that. It's a little invitation to experiment, to bring a touch of mindfulness to the everyday. Just see what unfolds. And with that, I think we've reached the end of our deep dive into the fascinating world of meditation techniques from the Rajneesh tradition. It's been a truly insightful journey.
It has. Thanks for having me.
Until next time, everyone, keep exploring, keep discovering, and keep diving deep.